Hi, my name is Jonas White, and this is my middle school physical science lesson. The SDAIE strategy I'll be using is brainstorming, and the students will be working with these scenarios that I've drawn. Alright, we'll start right off. Good morning, class. Let's start right off with Newton's third law. Who can tell me what Newton's third law is? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's right. So let's look at these three scenarios and see if we can brainstorm as to what is going to happen when we apply Newton's third law to the scenario. Number one, we have a ball falling on the ground. What's going to happen? Newton's third law is, for every action is an equal and opposite reaction, so you think it might stop right where it is. Stop. Okay? Someone else? You think because it's hitting the ground, it's going to bounce right back up? Bounce. Up. Alright, so, class, between these two items, what do you think is going to happen? Let's take a vote. Who thinks it's going to stop? Okay, who thinks it's going to bounce back up? Alright, and why is that? That's right, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when the ball hits the ground right here, the ground is also hitting the ball with the same force, forcing it back up. Alright, let's look at scenario number 2. Scenario number 2. Who can tell me what's going to happen? You think he's just going to stand up? Well, let me clarify. He's pushing with a force greater than the weight of his body. So what's going to happen here? Okay, so he said he thinks he's just going to stand right up and stay right there. That's one idea. So stand and stay. Okay, what else? Go ahead, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, so you think he might push so hard he's going to push into the ground and he'll have a hole. There'll be a hole where he's standing. Okay, so make a hole with his legs. But I think we might be forgetting one thing. The ground is going to push back with the same force. So what do you think is going to happen? Get somebody else. Come on, tell me another thought. Yes, go ahead. So you think he's going to push back on the ground, and the ground's going to push back on him. And he's actually going to get up in the air because he's pushing with a force greater than the weight of his body. Alright, class, so let's take a vote between these scenarios. Who thinks he's just going to stand up? Okay, we have some maybes. Who thinks he's going to push so hard it's just going to create a hole in the ground? Okay, now who thinks he's going to jump? The reaction to him putting force on the ground greater than the weight of his body is going to put him in the air. Alright, perfect. That is the one. He is pushing down and the ground is pushing back with the same amount of force that he's applying, and it's going to lift him off the ground. Now this last scenario, we have two balls. Let's imagine these balls are the same weight and they're coming at each other with the same force. What do you think is going to happen? Let's think about it. Go ahead. Yes, you. Okay, so he thinks they're going to come together and they're just going to hit and they're going to stay right there. Anybody else? Okay. They could hit and just both travel in this one direction, this way, or they can hit and go the same direction as that way. Okay. He thinks they might come together and go in one direction or the other. Okay, one other? Okay, and why do you think that they're going to bounce off of each other in the opposite direction? Because of Newton's third law. That's right, because Newton's third law says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when these two balls come together and hit right here in the middle, they are going to have the same force applied to each other, and that opposite force is going to send them back out in the opposite directions, going this way and that way. Good job. Alright, so let's move on to the next section of our lesson.